Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Idiots in the Wild. Ignore the different microphone. It's very humid right now, and condenser mics and humidity don't go well together. This is my older mic, which I don't think's been seen on camera much. I had to swap them out temporarily. The other one will be okay. I should get some desiccant packets. I do have a dehumidifier, so maybe I should leave that in this room. I have solutions, just... It's fine. I'm very lucky to have a second mic. Anyway, it is in the wild. First up, we have Handicap Parking by Smile Hiding Pain 98. So I work at the Bullseye Mart, and last week I was working our customer service desk. I'm going about my day, folding clothes, defecting some items, doing returns, all this normal. I almost said defecating there. That would be very different. That would get them fired. Until this woman, probably early 70s, comes up to do a return. The interaction is mostly normal. Do you have the receipt? Yes, I do. Okay. Was there anything wrong with the item? No, it just didn't fit. Would you like the refund back on your card or in cash? Cash, please. I'm an autopilot, just smiling and going about my day. I hand her the return seat and wish her a good day. And that's when she says this: I'd like to lodge a formal protest. I'm kind of surprised. Oh, okay, what about? You have too many handicap parking spaces in your parking lot. Now I pause. We have a grand total of 10 handicap parking spots, 2 rows of 5 spots. And if you add in little blacked out spots for unloading ramps, our entire handicap section takes up about 16 normal spots. And like all handicap spots, they're parked as close to our main entrance as possible. I blink at her, and then it hits me. Oh, do you mean our pickup spots? Those ones on the camera there. I point to the aforementioned pickup spots, about 12 altogether, with some no parking spaces included. People sometimes park there even though they're not supposed to, so maybe... No, not those. I have no problem with those. Because she benefits from those. I mean the handicap parking spaces. You guys have too many of them. At this point, my brain makes a little dial-up internet noise as it reboots. Because what do you mean we have too many handicap spots? For context, the store I work in is connected to a mall, and a lot of stores with their own personal entrances, and the mall's main entrance, don't have as many handicap spots available. And it's not like our handicap spots are just going unused. I think on a daily basis we have at a minimum 3 or 4 spots in use, and that's just a normal day when no holidays or events are happening in town. It's like a war zone during holidays. I'm not sure what to say, so I respond, oh, I see. Honestly, who needs that much handicap parking? Oh, I know. I'm thinking, you're about 2 or 3 years away from shattering your glass house with that rock you want to throw, but okay, I guess. I can get you a manager if you want. Don't bother. I know they won't do anything about it. Oh, okay. I'm thinking, then why are you formally protesting to start with? Have a good day, dear. You too? So yeah, that's the first. I have worked in retail for the last 10 years, and I have seen many people with too much audacity. But this one took me by surprise. I did tell the manager later, and she looked just as baffled as I did and asked, did you want us to get rid of the handicap spots we're by law required to keep a certain distance away from the door? To which I replied, I don't know, dude. Story number 2. Ma'am, your skin isn't a dry erase board. You are not a human Etch-a-Sketch. By Squirrely Wildcard. Background, I manage a tattoo shop. Buckle up. This is a long ride. Normally, I cover opening shift, but my new guy had some stuff they needed to handle that day, so I pulled a double because I'm not an a-hole boss like that. Anyways, it's about 30 minutes to close. Everybody is gone except one artist. and I am knocking out closing duties and chores when a young lady comes frantically rushing in. She is just in shambles and wound all the way up. She shows me a tattoo on her outer lower forearm, the side of her lower arm, that she said she got done here 2 days ago. It's a basic script font of a name, Lee Sincere, but she keeps insisting it's backwards. Twice, both ways. It's got to be fixed, now! Can you just redo it? I try to understand what she means, and she's just coming more and more unglued. I go get the artist that's still there to try and help, while I get a hold of the artist who did the work. The artist still there managed to get it out of her after about 5 minutes of back-and-forth confusion and frustration that the name was supposed to be Sincere Lee. Sincerely, not Lee Sincere. He pitches the idea of covering up the Lee and just adding it to the end of Sincere, and just essentially moving the placement further down the forearm in the end. But she says no because it's still backwards. What in the actual fuck? Did she want it reversed like in a mirror? And between every scattered, flustered, and highly agitated response we ask from her, we are being constantly hit with, I can't believe he did it backwards. This has to be fixed. He just needs to come redo it. I hand her a pen and a piece of paper and tell her to write out what she means. Please write out what she expected the tattoo to say exactly so I can help her. I get the responsible artist on the phone. Yes, he did the piece. Not only did he set the stencil twice, but the first stencil he laid down said Sincere Lee, to which she said, wait for it, no, it's backwards, and had him flip the names to Lee Sincere. He sets the second stencil, she gives him the go-ahead, and she watches him do the entire piece. He said he tried to engage in conversation with her, but she ignored him, and just stared at the work being done. She watched the entire piece, start to finish. Now everyone is really fucking confused. I look over at her and her paper, and she's having an absolute meltdown trying to write out what she wanted. I ask if she checked the stencil, she admits she did. I ask if she watched any of the tattoo being done, again, yes. At that point I feel like I'm being punked. I'm staring at my artist, he's staring at me, we're both befuddled beyond belief. And the customer is still just repeating, it's got to be fixed. I don't know why he did it backwards. And why can't he just redo it? She also finally handed me her paper. And Jesus fucking Christ on a goddamn saltine cracker, y'all. It's backwards both ways. She wanted the text mirror imaged, and the name to be going up her arm towards her instead of down the arm. The S for the first name starting at her wrist, and the rest of the name following up the arm towards her. This is where both of us kinda snap and start to lose patience and empathy with her. Ma'am, you saw the stencil, changed it, and cleared it, correct? Yes. And you watched work being done, right? Yes. Okay, babe, if it was wrong, why did you do that and not say something again? And I shit you not, I didn't think about it then, but you can just redo it. I don't see why you can't just redo it. You can just go over it and make it look the right way. My dad noticed that he did the names wrong and said something to me, so it has to be fixed now. All empathy and patience is now gone, obliterated, extinct. Even if it could be redone, which it can't be, you can't go over fresh ink. It has to heal first, and then you can cover it, laser it, or rework it like we first said, but it won't be mirrored. Your skin isn't a dry erase board, you are not a human Etch-a-Sketch. Oh, that would be fun though, wouldn't it? Tattoos aren't washable. You choose this design not once but twice, and you watched it be done, and then waited 2 days later to come back. There's nothing more that can be done right now. So I just have to live with a messed up tattoo? You're just gonna make me walk around? Ma'am, respectfully, none of us made you do anything. This was your choice. You did this. There is nothing more that can be done at this moment, and we're closing down. She storms off, throwing a huffy hissy fit the entire time, all the way out the building. And then once she left, she attempted to call the shop and complain to the manager. "Well, surprise, shorty. That's me. And I said what I said. More hissy fit ensues, more repetition of the same, just go over it, redo it." And I'm gonna be honest, hung up on her. I just simply could not any longer. Story number 3. My aunt told mourners at her father's funeral to convert to Christianity, by Loris Perspicacious. Perspicacious. My grandfather, 1929 to 2026, that was a bloody good age, was the most loving person, unfortunately because he saw the cost of hate firsthand. He escaped his invaded homeland of Poland as a teenager, through making connections with German soldiers, but he was the only one in his family to make it out. He forged a new life for himself in America, marrying my grandmother. My Nana was kind of a Karen, I'm not going to lie. She pushed my grandpa around a lot and criticized basically his every move. Grandpa was an ally to every walk of person, and never said a bad word about anyone. He was a quiet, introverted man who loved gardening and cooking. My Nana was an extroverted socialite, a gossip, and a judgmental bigot. Unfortunately, all 3 of her kids took way more after their mother, but her middle child, my aunt, is her mirror image. My dad and I call her La Carnicera, the butcher. But I'll be referring to her as Aunt Karina, because it sounds similar to Karen. In short, Aunt Karina is a born-again performative type of Christian that makes the rest of us in the Jesus Squad look absolutely insane to the rest of the world. She needs everyone to know how Christian she is. It's like a compulsion. You cannot take 2 steps into her house without running into a Bible quote, a cross, or a white Jesus. It's a drink they serve at Starbucks, isn't it? She also, like my Nana, very judgmental of people who aren't Christians. Like my Jewish dad and his family. Or my partner, whose atheism I think she takes higher issue with than the fact that they're trans. What drives me the slightest bit insane is that she played non-stop generic Christian guitar ballads on the TV in my grandpa's hospice room, the last week of his life. And I had to turn it off after he already passed so the rest of us could cry in peace. Side note, this incident unlocked a new fear of dying to bad music in me. So my dad and I have now picked out what we're calling our deathbed soundtrack of songs we'd like the family to play when it's our time. Hopefully that background knowledge was helpful for what actually went down the day of the funeral. So the church only allowed 1 eulogy at the service. I honestly think that's ridiculous. Sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But my grandpa was a founding member, so there's nowhere else he'd want us to do this. Aunt Karina, of course, wants to do it, and her siblings are too tired to fight her. And I'm not gonna lie, it started off very well. She went over the hardships Grandpa faced, and how admirable it was for him to forge a family and a steady career, how much he loved every person he met on the street. I'm actually cracking a smile, enjoying this time of reflection on the best person I knew. I feel the slightest bit of peace for the first time in weeks. The funeral was 16 days after Grandpa's death, by the way, because Aunt Karina really needed to fly out of state with her husband for a little excursion. And then she drops the line, "I hope that my father's life of faith has inspired those of you who have not accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior to ensure your soul's eternal life so you can meet again in heaven." To the entire congregation of loved ones from all walks of life and all kinds of faiths attending my grandpa's funeral, including my dad, her brother-in-law of 40 freaking years, and his Jewish family. Now, I knew she was off the deep end with her beliefs, but I had no idea she thought non-Christians didn't get eternal life. Well, here's the thing about that. They want everybody to repent and become just like them, but we've met them. Why on earth would we want to spend eternity with people like her? Start our own heaven with hookers and blackjack. And I also thought she'd have at least the minimal amount of shame to not use her father's tragic passing as a platform to shame his friends in a way he would never have approved of. Even though the funeral was days ago, I'm still fuming about it. The worst part is I have to invite all my parents' siblings to my 25th birthday party. Fun fact, you don't. Including her. Nope, you actually don't. Your birthday. Or else her drama will just multiply tenfold. Yes, but it will be away from you. I'm counting down the days until my partner and I have enough money to move so I never have to interact with her again. Maybe you can say the eulogy at her funeral. Alrighty, story number 4. Rant about the most entitled parent I've met by altruistic Pepper736. For context, I'm 20 years old and worked in a level C classroom. Depending on where you're at, level C could mean anything. For us, it means a child may have a learning disability, dyslexia, ADHD, autism, etc. I loved my job more than anything in the world. But this is the story of one of the 2 families who made me quit. I had a student, Max. Max is a kindergartner with severe anger management issues, and that definitely presented very early into the school year. During the first week, he punched a teacher in the mouth, Jesus Christ, called me a bitch and assaulted multiple students. Immediately, his mom made excuses. He's never like this at home. He didn't act like this in preschool. Kind of suggesting that it's your fault that she can't discipline her kid, etc. Bold-faced lies, seeing as a child has to show extreme struggle during the previous year to be placed in our classroom. But it was all right. I'd say more than half the children I work with have parents who say the exact same things. But we noticed a pattern, and that was that Max only ever hit women. No male staff members, not his father. Only women and other small children. I had my suspicions about their family. Max had mentioned his parents gave him ivermectin whenever he's sick. Not a question I asked, something he relayed unprompted. He'd also get extremely aggressive whenever a student implied he was doing anything girly, or was crying, or when they pointed out he was short. I mean, he's a kid, of course he's short. He'd also let us know that Donald Trump was a great guy. Fuck off. Jarring thing to hear from a 5-year-old, by the way. But regardless, it was an unbiased observation. Though it made me roll my eyes, my main priority was Max, and I kept that information in mind when we interacted. Be that as it may, things did start getting better with Max. As he learned more and practiced healthy coping mechanisms, things were looking up. What do you mean it did start at home? Who'd have thunk it? We were down to maybe 1 fight every 2 weeks. Completing schoolwork on time. I even got a hug most days. Brave. I won't lie, a part of this reason was because the teacher I worked for, Max's teacher, did favor him over other students. I understand it can be hard not to prefer some to others, but I'm of the opinion it should never affect your teaching. Unfortunately for him, that teacher quit halfway through the year. Bye, little guy. I was extremely excited to have our new teacher. She was and is amazing. But one thing she hasn't ever done is play favorites. And Max picked up on that quickly. There was no more getting to go on fun activity breaks for bad behavior, no more lighter punishments for assaulting others, etc. So he went back to his old routines, including punching said teacher so hard in the nose that I could hear it connect, and she had a concussion, to which she got an ISS. His mother found this out quickly too. She went to the principal, insisting that Max had never behaved this way with the old teacher, obviously untrue, and that because he was so young it wasn't his fault. No, lady, we're blaming you. Well, I am. She even started looking up diagnoses to give him online, going so far as to just screenshot a random diagnosis and insist that they put it on his IEP. She insisted he had a rejection disorder, not being able to be told no, and autism. I've worked with children with a range of disabilities, children born addicted to drugs, developmental delays, children who couldn't walk by the time they were 5, and most especially, autism. I want to stress to you, Max does not have autism. He'd also repeat things in the slow, particular way children do when they've been coached into saying it, or have heard it a lot before. telling the teacher she shouldn't be allowed to teach, and that I was going to go to jail for picking on him. One time that really got on my nerves was during the book fair. Unlike Max and another boy, a lot of our students come from poorer backgrounds. That meant that when the book fair happened, Max was given $50 to spend, and he did. It broke my heart to see the look on the other students' faces when they saw him and another boy bring back all their toys and books. And I know how that feels as a kid. So that weekend I went to the book fair and got every student who didn't get one each a book. Some of them even signed in store by the author, which was so cool. The following week his mother is there to drop off, and he looks very shy, like he doesn't want to say something to me. She encourages him, and in a very fake, sad, head down and lip pouting way he says, "Miss, are you gonna get me a book? You bought everyone else one." And his mom's just looking expectantly at me. I say we can discuss this later, because how dare she try to ambush me at the beginning of the day when she knows it's going to turn into a meltdown. Later I explained that no, I wouldn't be buying him a book, and that some people don't have money for books, and since he already had one, that made it even. He melted down and then said almost the same thing word for rights next week, and the same thing happened. One day, a while after this, we were outside of the school where one of those little birdhouses-looking tiny libraries are, again for our less fortunate students. She lets him grab one, which already made me roll my eyes. She's the head of HR at her job, drives an expensive car, and their entire family wears very expensive clothing. I looked up one of her shirts one time, $100. Regardless, he takes one, and his mother goes, "That's great, Max. I know how much you love books," while glancing my way. I didn't acknowledge it. His mother never spoke to me again. Time went on, and Max got worse. He was now targeting a very tiny girl from another class. She had the height and build of a preschooler. Every time Max got upset, he'd run from class and go to the hallways looking for her. There were 4 occasions where he got to her, punching her in the head, kicking her, scratching her, etc. Every time he'd get in trouble, his mom would say something along the lines of, "Well, he was just having a bad day." What about the kid he attacked? "Well, she was just at the wrong place at the wrong..." Oh, she's the kind of woman who'd be like, "Well, it's the way she was dressed." You can see that coming in the future. Never was anything ever his fault. One of these particular times he targeted her and got quite a few hits in before she could be evacuated. He again got an ISS. His mother complained to the principal again, saying ISS was like jail, and that the only reason he was behaving this way was because of another boy named George. For context, and I do think this is important, George is one of the only black students in our class, and had never any violent outbursts. When that didn't work, she'd say it was every child in our classroom. A few had gotten aggressive before, but were nowhere near as frequently or as violent as Max. After that, we'd regularly hear from Max that, "Mommy said I'm going to a school with no ISS room." Result, everybody wins. "Grandma says I should be in Gen Ed." No one was buying it. During my final weeks at that school, he had given me a concussion, sent aforementioned teacher to the nurse again, had to have a therapist by his side for the entire school day every day, and would regularly attempt to strangle other students, threaten to kill anyone and everyone, ripped a sizable chunk of my hair out, and would try to lift up my shirt when I would ignore tantrums and hitting. Mom's reaction to this? "Well, why isn't he in a level B classroom? A classroom for children with little to no behaviors." When all of this was mentioned in a meeting, and his teacher strongly suggested he be sent to a level D school, where they could physically restrain him, it was brushed off as Mac has standard level C behavior. I left shortly thereafter. You put up with that longer than most people would. My heavens. Fifth and final story for this video. Kevin shit his pants in front of the battalion commander. There are many kinds of people who join the United States military. In the Marine Corps, you get the whole spectrum. Today I'm a writer. But back before the pandemic, I was wearing boots for Uncle Sam. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. is mostly a lot of sweating and screaming and getting sand into crevices you never knew you had. The Marine Corps was not for the faint of heart. The Marine Corps was not for Kevin. My boot camp platoon had a lot of guys, about 80 to start with. We had a whole range of weirdos. There was Shakespeare, a kid so racist he was beaten to a pulp during a training event for using the N-word. Needless to say, he never made it to graduation. There was Montague, who would talk to himself at night. Yeah, crazy people talk to themselves. There was Kennedy, who was secretly Canadian the whole time. Called himself Kennedy to throw you off, didn't he? And then there was Kevin. Kevin was from one of those states where the cornfields can speak, and they tell you ancient secrets. Kevin was from the kind of place where banjo music lingers ominously in the background as you stare into the woods. Kevin had the thickest accent I have ever heard, but that wasn't the problem with Kevin. At first we thought Kevin was pretty all right. He got on well with others. He'd followed orders. Maybe he was a little out of shape, but the drill instructors can solve that just fine over the 13 weeks you spend working out every single day. He also had a stutter that the DIs bullied him for relentlessly. Gunny would rush in, and at the top of his lungs he would scream, "Kevin, get over here, and say 666. Kevin would oblige. 18 seconds, Gunny would say. 18 seconds and I'm never going to get back. You would think that this would make the other recruits make fun of him, but actually, at first it garnered sympathy. We all felt bad for Kevin. We tried to make sure he kept up during workouts, and people did their best to make him look good in front of the drill instructors, until they moved on to someone else. They always do eventually. It's just a part of their job. We kept this up for most of the 13 weeks up until the Crucible. Ooh, who played John Proctor? I studied that for 2 years in high school. 1 year English as literature, the following year as drama. Anyway, a 3-day experience toward the end of boot camp where you're tested on everything you've trained on up until that point. Hiking, doing maneuver drills and obstacle courses in simulated battlefields, patrols. It's exhausting. And you barely sleep for days until you have to do a nice mile hike back to the ceremony where you graduate. Kevin made it through all of this just fine, but people were starting to get a little suspicious. Kevin was doing a little too well. He was almost cheerful even. People were starting to suspect he wasn't trying as hard as he used to be. That maybe we had begun coddling Kevin a little bit too much in the course of trying to save him from the drill instructors. It all came to a head when his hiking pack broke during the final hike. It was dark, and the instructors had bigger things to worry about. They didn't look too closely at it. Surely no one would pull the quick release on their strap and lie that it broke in front of the entire company, right before they were set to officially become a Marine. Surely anyone who cheated wouldn't do something so obvious. Kevin wasn't just anyone. Eventually, it was found that his pack was perfectly fine. Someone had pulled the quick release. Nobody ever proved it was Kevin, not in a way that could be backed by paperwork. So they let him become a Marine. Okay. Once you're a Marine in boot camp, you aren't finished. There's still about a week left, if I recall, and you spend a lot of time doing paperwork, purchasing plane tickets, preparing for the graduation ceremony, and seeing your family again for the first time on Family Day. Everything was going swimmingly until the day before Family Day. See, the battalion commander is, from the perspective of measly recruits like we were, something like your boss's 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 boss. I lost count of bosses. One of the last things you do before you see your family again is meet him during a uniform inspection. When Marines do a uniform inspection, it's not exactly a quick and painless experience. They examine your uniform from your shoes to your cover, hat, and for anything they can find. Sometimes, just to keep you on your toes, they ask you trivia questions. and the man does this for hundreds of new Marines all in one morning. Needless to say, we were standing there a very long time. I remember when the battalion commander got to me. He asked me what the 3 words on the back of a good conduct medal were. I think I got the answer wrong. I remember having to pee. I remember holding it for over an hour. I remember the commander when he got to Kevin. "Private Kevin," he said, "report in." Kevin obliged. The commander looked over his uniform, read his name tag. He reached out and adjusted the poor kid's cap. He asked him the same question that he asked me. Kevin actually got the answer right. It seemed like everything was going to go smoothly. Then the commander hesitated for a moment. According to the guy standing opposite Kevin in the big room we lived in for the past 3 months, Kevin had been making a strange face for the entire inspection. That was known to happen from time to time. New Marines were stressed out, and stressed out people are known to make funny faces. "Are you okay? Wait. Aren't you the kid that had the problem with your pack?" Apparently that was too much for Kevin. Kevin stared forwards. Kevin made a noise. The 2 Marines standing on either side of Kevin turned away from him, and nearly threw up as a tearing noise erupted through the room, and a smell like nothing I've ever experienced flooded my nostrils. I don't know what he ate. Maybe he was lactose intolerant. The battalion commander looked at our senior drill instructor. He looked around the room, and he walked out without saying a word. Conclusion: they dragged Kevin to the head, the bathroom, and none of us saw him for the rest of the day. To my astonishment, everyone moved on from it without saying another word. The inspections resumed some time later, and on Family Day he seemed fine. There was something haunted in his eyes, but all in all, they let him graduate still. Really? I like to think we all decided that he had been punished enough for his transgressions in training. As for me, I had an invested stake in this. We were going to our specialization training stations soon. I was going to the middle of the desert. And who was coming with me? Kevin and I had the same job. Kevin and I worked together for the next 13 months. This is not my last story about Kevin. Next time, maybe I'll talk about the time we nearly missed our flights out of combat training, because all his gear was missing. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support the channel, you can sign up for my Patreon page if you'd like. It's $1 or more a month. It gets you early access to all the videos at once on Monday. But of course, the videos go up day by day if you don't want to do that. There's also a link to my merchandise store over on Teespring, my Discord server, my Threads account, and my email is kingofthecities@gmail.com if you need to contact me. I do hope that sounds okay. I've not used it for a while. I sometimes get trouble when I'm streaming with it. I think that's everything for now. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves.